The 2026 World Cup was supposed to be football's biggest celebration ever. 48 teams, 3 host nations, more matches, more fans, and the largest stage the sport has ever built. But behind the goals, the flags, and the packed stadiums, another story is growing louder. Several national federations are now pushing back against FIFA, and this time, the complaints are not just about one bad call or one angry coach after a defeat. They are about the rules of the tournament itself, new disciplinary standards, inconsistent VAR decisions, travel restrictions, conduct scores, and a third-place ranking system so tight that one yellow card could change a nation's future. FIFA wanted this World Cup to feel bigger, cleaner, and more controlled. Instead, the size of the tournament is exposing every weakness in the system. And as the knockout rounds approach, one more controversial decision could turn this from a rules debate into a full-blown World Cup crisis. The controversy begins with one of FIFA's most talked about new rules, the so-called mouth-covering rule. Officially, it was introduced to stop players from hiding what they say during confrontations on the pitch, especially after recent high-profile abuse and racism cases in European football. On paper, the idea makes sense. FIFA wanted to show that player behavior would be monitored more seriously, and that offensive language would not be allowed to disappear behind a hand over the mouth. But the problem is not the purpose of the rule. The problem is how it has been applied. At a tournament this large, consistency is everything. If one player is punished harshly and another player in a similar situation escapes without even a card, every team starts asking the same question. Is this really a rule? Or is it a judgment call dressed up as a rule? Paraguay became one of the first teams to turn frustration into formal action. During the group stage, one of their players was shown a red card under the new rule, and the suspension that followed cost them a key player for the next match. The Paraguayan Football Association reportedly filed an official protest, arguing that the rule was not being enforced equally across matches. And then came the moment that made everything worse. Just days later, a similar incident involving an England player appeared to pass without the same punishment. Maybe FIFA saw the two incidents differently. Maybe the referee heard something different. Maybe the context was different. But in football, perception matters. Once fans and federations believe the same rule, being treated differently depending on the shirt, trust begins to collapse. FIFA has not fully killed that suspicion, and silence only makes the suspicion louder. Paraguay's complaint is about officiating. Iran's frustration is about something even bigger: logistics and access. Because of the political environment around their participation, Iran have reportedly faced unusual travel conditions, including being based in Mexico and crossing into the United States only around match days. Iranian officials have argued that this puts extra strain on preparation, recovery, and routine. At a World Cup, those details matter. A few lost hours of sleep matter, long travel matters, recovery windows matter, and on top of that, supporters have complained about ticket allocation problems and travel uncertainty after planning months in advance. For Iran, the question is not only whether they are being treated fairly on the pitch, it is whether they are being given the same conditions to compete before the match even starts. Then there is the VAR issue. FIFA expanded and adjusted the video review process for this tournament, giving on-field referees more discretion in certain situations, instead of making every decision feel controlled by the booth. In theory, that should create a better balance between technology and human judgment. In practice, it has created more variability. Two referees can look at similar incidents and reach different conclusions, while still being able to say they followed the protocol. That is where teams get angry. Brazil experienced this frustration when a penalty shout was waved away, despite replays showing clear contact. Their federation did not file a formal protest like Paraguay, but the message from their camp was obvious. The system has to decide what it wants to be, either trust the referee or trust the technology. Sitting in the middle only creates confusion. The quieter controversy may end up being one of the most dangerous. FIFA's team conduct and fair play scoring system can affect tiebreakers, especially among third-place teams fighting for qualification. That sounds like a small technical detail until you realize what it means. In a 4-8-team World Cup, where the best third-place teams can advance, one yellow card, one bench incident, Or one disputed red card can become the difference between a country reaching the knockouts or going home. Several federations have questioned how transparent the conduct scoring really is. And they have a point. If a system can decide a team's tournament future, everyone needs to understand exactly how it works. Otherwise, every disciplinary decision becomes bigger than the match itself. The tournament's geography is another source of tension. With matches spread across the United States, Mexico, and Canada, teams are covering distances no World Cup squads have ever had to manage at this scale. Some have crossed time zones within a single week. Sports scientists and team doctors have raised concerns about jet lag, climate adjustment, and recovery time. FIFA points to the fact that the expanded format includes more rest days on paper. But rest days do not always mean recovery if travel consumes the schedule. A player can have 3 days between matches and still feel drained if one of those days is spent flying, transferring, adapting to a new climate, and resetting sleep. In a tournament where one mistake can end a campaign, fatigue is not a background detail, it is a competitive factor. So far, these controversies have mostly lived inside the group stage, but the danger for FIFA is what happens next. In the knockouts, everything gets louder. A red card no longer affects just a group table calculation. It can end a dream instantly. A disputed VAR call no longer becomes a talking point for one night. It can define a nation's entire World Cup. A conduct score controversy can turn into accusations that FIFA's own system sent the wrong team through. History suggests FIFA rarely changes rules in the middle of a World Cup, and a major U-turn is unlikely, but pressure from multiple federations at once is different. This is not one team complaining after one defeat. It is a pattern. Officiating, travel, VAR, conduct scoring, and player management all becoming connected under one larger question. Can FIFA actually control the tournament it created? This is where the tournament stands. FIFA wanted a bigger World Cup, but a bigger World Cup means bigger controversies. Paraguay are questioning enforcement, Iran are questioning logistics, other teams are questioning VAR, federations are watching the conduct score. Players are being told to control their emotions while fans are asking why the rules seem to change from match to match. Maybe FIFA can still calm this down with clearer communication and consistent decisions in the knockout rounds. But if another major call swings a quarterfinal or semifinal, this will no longer be a side story. It could become the defining controversy of the tournament. So what worries you most? The mouth-covering rule, VAR inconsistency, travel problems, or the conduct scoring system? Drop your take below, because at World Cup 2026, the football is not the only thing under pressure.